Okay, if you are feeling like your energy is completely drained and you are living in this body that you no longer know, and your brain is foggy and your moods are different and no one gets it, this video is for you. I want to talk a little bit about my journey with perimenopause and menopause and just share what I've been through, share some of the things that helped me, some of the things I wish I would have done differently, because I am telling you guys, this has rocked my entire world more than anything that I've ever been through before. And I've been through some stuff. So this is just going to be really casual. If you guys see me looking over here, it's only because I often lose my place when I am talking and can't remember what I'm going to say. And that's been another fun part of perimenopause and menopause. This is not scripted, but I have a few things that I want to talk about. So if you see me looking over there, that is why. Let me introduce myself. My name is Amanda Santos. I am 48 and a half years old, and I have three kids. They are 15, 18, no, 15, 17, and almost 25, which is really crazy that I have a child that is a quarter of a century old, but here we are. So I also am a digital marketer, and that means different things to different people. But for me, I work with businesses and I do things like AI and build webinars to help them get more business. I also work with other marketers. And I've been married for over 20 years. So just a little bit about me so that you know that I'm a real person and someone who is going through this just like you are. So my journey with perimenopause and menopause started about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I just started feeling off. That's the best way I can describe it. It wasn't something I could put my finger on exactly. I just felt off. I didn't have any energy. I was tired. I was cranky. My moods were kind of all over the place, and my periods were horrible. I was still having periods at this time. They were very heavy. They were debilitating. And I remember my daughter back then was like, I was in bed for a week or something with a heavy period. And she's like, Mom, why are you dealing with this? But I had dealt with it for so long, off and on, that it had just become my new norm. And something would get better for a while, like my period would get better, and then it would get worse, and then it would shift to a different symptom. And so I thought, you know what, it's going to get better. And then it didn't, and then it did. And so you just keep living, right? That's just how it is sometimes being a woman and being a mom. We just keep taking care of other people and we keep on cruising. And I remember going to the doctor at that point and saying, hey, can we take some tests and see if I'm starting to be in perimenopause? Because I had started to hear about it and understand that that's when our hormones are starting to become like a big roller coaster of up and down, right? And so I remember back in maybe 2021, 2020, they actually took my blood tests at that time and everything came back normal. This was my typical, like my normal doctor that took them, so not anything to do with a hormone specialist, but they took all those tests and they said, yeah, no, we don't see any perimenopause, everything is fine. I'm like, okay, great. Great. And this went on for a few more years. And it wasn't that I felt dismissed by my doctors, but I felt like they didn't really understand and that they weren't taking it seriously and they weren't digging deep enough to find out what was going on. And so this went on for a few more years. Various other symptoms started appearing, had a lot of issues with sleep, a lot of trouble going to sleep, staying asleep. Obviously, that affected my entire life. I just didn't feel good. That was that's the best way to say it now. Just like I said, I was feeling off. I started really not feeling good. And so I'm pretty good with medical stuff. I enjoy it. It's interesting to me. And so I knew something was up. And I'm like, okay, well, I know my mom went through this around this time. And I don't know if you guys know that, but typically, not always, but typically, the age that your mom went through menopause is probably going to be fairly close to the year and age that you go through menopause. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're going on this journey. And so I started digging into the research because I was feeling so completely alone. I was feeling so completely helpless. And I honestly was ready to blow up my entire life. I couldn't handle anything anymore. And just normal everyday stuff was just so massive to me. And I'm sure also at that time, I was not fun to live with at all. I could barely stand myself. So I'm sure everybody around me could barely stand me as well. But I knew something at that point, a few years into it, was desperately wrong. And so I started to just get onto Facebook, get onto social media, and I started looking into perimenopause symptoms. And I remember finding this list and seeing this list of symptoms. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, I I was just checking off every single symptom. I have that, I have that, I have that, and I have that. And all of a sudden, a light bulb went off in my head like, that's it, right? That is the key. That is what's going on. It has to be. It can't be anything else, or maybe it is something else, but it is definitely this too. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy because I knew that women have an issue with getting correct care sometimes in this country and good medical care and people that will listen to them and actually take things seriously and find out what's going on. And so I said to myself, okay, I need to find someone that really specializes in menopause and perimenopause. And so I'm going to give that suggestion to you, and I'll kind of have a little list of suggestions here right at the end of the video if you stick around. But I think that's really important to note. You've got to find someone that really specializes in perimenopause and menopause, because regular, primary care physicians are not going to know about this. They're not going to understand. Even a regular OB/GYN is not going to understand. You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to know how to treat it appropriately. The other thing to be aware of is that even people that are so-called experts all have a different view of what's normal, right? So the key is really finding someone that is going to treat both your symptoms and run actual tests to see what's going on. So that's just my disclaimer there, right? Here's what I did. I had enough, and I said, I can't live this way anymore. I have to actually do something. And I went onto Facebook, into a local Facebook group, and I posted and I said, here's my symptoms, here's what I'm dealing with. Where do I go? Please tell me someone I can go see in this area that I can try to get this fixed, because this is not working anymore. And I think there was, maybe 5 to 8 comments, and a few of them were mentioning the same person over and over again. I said, okay, well, that's a good sign. They were in a kind of a normal big group. What's the word for it? See, this is another fun symptom, right? Of menopause, is just not being able to find the word, but just a normal big medical group that we have here in the area. And they were covered by my insurance, and said, okay, well, I don't really have anything to lose. It wasn't a super alternative doctor or an alternative medicine practice. So I knew that it was at least worth a try. So I made the appointment. They tested all my labs again. And at that point, I had literally undetectable levels of all 3 sex hormones, which are progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. Those are our 3 primary sex hormones that we need to feel like human beings, and also that just participate in so many different processes in our body. Like, they just do so many different things, and people don't realize how many things that hormones play into and everything that they do, right? So she just looked at me and she's like, wow, you must feel horrible. And I was like, yeah, I feel really horrible. I felt at that point, like, I use this term a lot, a shell of a person. I was just getting up and just hoping I could make it through the day. And I knew that I, like I was saying, could not function anymore like that. So yes, I said, yeah, I really feel really awful. And she said, okay, yeah, we need to get some hormones into your body. Now, I want to preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I feel like I have a pretty good handle on just perimenopause and all of the research behind it, which is, new and exciting. But I can't make medical decisions for you. I can only make medical decisions for myself. So just a disclaimer there. And I will also preface this by saying I don't think that hormone replacement therapy is right for everyone. There were a lot of other changes I made as well, and I'll tell you about those in just a second. But I wanted to just get to that part of my journey where I did decide to do hormone replacement therapy. I looked at all of the latest research, which basically says that it is safe, it is important for women our age, and it's also protective in a lot of ways. So I began taking the HRT, and there were some bumps along the way. I'm not going to say it was a completely smooth road, but within, gosh, I don't know, 2 weeks, I noticed such a huge change in the way I felt. And I started to feel like myself again. Not myself at 20, but like myself at like 40, right? Which is kind of where we want to be. Like, we don't need to go back to, our 20s. We just need to feel like normal human beings. And so the HRT was a huge, huge influence on me, and it was really something that was life-changing for me. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, and it didn't fix everything. There's still things that I deal with that are not perfect, but I mean, if I was at a 0 or a 1 before, I would say I'm probably at a 6 right now. And I think there's other things that I can add to that to maybe get to like an 8 or a 9 or maybe even a 10, right? But I just want to just tell you that that is part of my journey. Now, I have been on HRT now for about 2.5 years. I am now considered postmenopausal, so I have not had a period for over 12 months. And that's just such a like super fun word to say. Postmenopausal sounds sexy, right? Like, but it is what it is. So, I do still feel like I have a long way to go. And I still think that there's a lot that I can do to feel better. But for me, the HRT was just life changing, honestly. And a big reason why I want to talk about this is because I'm in a lot of forums and talk to a lot of women now. And I just feel like this is something that is not talked about enough. I had no idea this was coming. I don't think that my mom suffered as badly as I did, although maybe she did and she just didn't speak up for herself. She was a single mom taking care of me, and so maybe it just wasn't available for her to really dig in and take care of herself. And also, if we think there are very few resources now for us, there were basically none for our moms, right? So maybe she did, maybe she didn't, I don't know. But I do know that there are so many women like me, like you, that are feeling like just really alone in this journey and nobody's talking about it. And so I want to just share a couple of things that helped me, and maybe you can take a piece of these. And then I would love to just use this channel just to talk about this, just to talk about this massive life changing, life altering thing that happens to so many women. And it's just like nobody's talking about it. It's so crazy to me. So let me share a couple of the things that really worked for me and helped me. The biggest thing that made me do something about it was tracking and actually writing things down and writing my symptoms down. So I just literally was just a plain notebook, and each day would get a new page, and I would just write things down like, how I was feeling emotionally, how I was feeling physically, what my symptoms were. For me, it was like a lot of joint pain, tremendous joint pain, hair loss, mood changes. I would write down sleep, right? If I had interrupted sleep, how many hours I got. I would also write down if I was exercising or not, because not to blame or shame or say, oh, I should have done better, but just to see if there's any connection. And there is, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But just track the symptoms a little bit, because it's going to help you realize that, oh, wow, like I was doing pretty good a year ago and now I am not doing great, right? Because it's so hard to know. And then we turn around and it's been 2 years and we have no idea how those 2 years passed. So try tracking your symptoms a little bit. See if that helps when you get to a point where you go, okay, this is enough. I have to get some help, right? And this also just gave me a little sense of control over this thing that I had absolutely no control over. And then the other thing that really started to help me was finding the things that would give me a physical and mental reset. And so I talked about exercise earlier. I am someone who has exercised almost my entire life, except for like the last 5 years. It just, for whatever reason, was so difficult for me to get started. Fitness has always been huge for me, but I just couldn't pull myself to do it. And so instead of focusing on the things that I had always done in the past, I decided to look at it in a new light. And so now what I try to do, and what I did, a few years ago when I started really trying to heal on this journey, is I'm just a lot more gentle on myself. And yes, I used to, teach bar and lift all these weights and do all these things. I'm not doing that now. And I can't beat myself up over it anymore, right? So instead, I'm just doing yoga when I can. I'm doing some workouts at home. I sit at a desk all day. So every 20 minutes, I have a little timer and I stand up and stretch and move body. Those are things that have really helped me just have like a little bit of a reset and not be so hard on myself, right? And it's okay to just celebrate those little wins. It doesn't have to be some massive change. You can just be gentle and kind with yourself and be like, yeah, I got out of bed today and I like bent over and touched my toes. That's a pretty good day. That's how you have to look at it. Like when you're in this mode, there's no other way to do it. So be gentle with yourself, but do find a way to have some sort of physical and mental reset. That was so huge for me. And then the last tip that I'm going to give you is to just really advocate for yourself. you're going to have to do some research because no one is going to do it for you. And so I will, in the description of this video, link a few people that I love to follow and that I feel have really great sound information. And there are good people and good doctors and smart people, and a few books also that might help you. But you're going to have to do some research, and you're going to have to advocate for yourself. That was the big kind of turning point for me when I decided, like, okay, my PCP isn't going to do anything. I have to do something for myself, and I have to speak up, and I have to say, this is enough. I have to do something to feel better, right? And so you're going to have to advocate for yourself and really not be forceful, but you're going to have to be like, demanding is not even the right word. You're going to have to stand up for yourself and say, this is something I need, and these are the symptoms that I can't tolerate, and I want something to be done about it. And if that's HRT, that's great. If it's something else, that's great too. But whatever it is, that doctor needs to hear you when you say that. That is really important. So make sure you're researching, and make sure that you're advocating for yourself. And, that's really all I have for today. I just wanted to open up this discussion, tell you a little bit about myself and my journey, give you a few things that worked for me. I hope this has been helpful or meaningful in some way. If it has, I would so appreciate if you would like this video, if you would consider subscribing to this channel, and I will make more content like this. I will talk about this more. I will talk more about the resources that I have and the journey that I have been on, and the things that have helped me and the things that have not helped me, and just so we can have some sort of community around this, because I want you to know that there is hope with this, because I know there were so many times that I did not feel hopeful at all. And I felt like I was going to have to live like that for the rest of my life. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. And it's incredibly isolating. It really is. It's incredibly lonely when you are feeling, when you're feeling like you really can't function, but you're not really sure why. And doctors and people around you are just telling you, well, it's fine. Like, you just, it's just anxiety. It's just stress. It just suck it up, go meditate, sleep more, whatever it is. And that's not okay. I'm here to tell you that that's not okay. So I just want to share this with you. I want to share this journey with you. And I would love if you would go along with me. I would love to know from you, how has your journey been? What has been your biggest challenge in perimenopause or menopause? Please leave me a comment. I will respond to each one individually. I would love to hear from you. And if you guys have any other suggestions of what you would like me to talk about, whether it's more on the medical side, whether it's HRT, nutrition, research, whatever you'd like me to talk about, I would love to do that. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and we'll catch you next time.